Hi, and welcome to another episode of Hot Takes with me, the Silver Fox. We seem to be through the looking glass. We're in an alternative reality, presented to us by all the lies of the SNP. They tell us this, they tell us that, they tell us that other things never happened, and we know it's all lies. Just yesterday, we had Keith Brown telling us that there was no £11,000 iPad bill presented by Michael Matheson. That is clearly a load of old rubbish. And today we have Michael Matheson saying that he misled nobody. And yet we know he lied and then changed his lie to a different lie before finally telling us that the real truth was he was watching football. Although he offers no proof, he will still not allow his iPad to be examined. So why should we believe the football story when the previous two were obviously lies? He lies about everything. But now he's lying about reality. He's telling people that he misled no one. This is straight from the horse's mouth, although I suspect it's more from the other end of the horse. But we'll take a look at this story to see why the lying liar and all his lies are being slowly found out and why he's still lying about all the lies he's telling. It's very, very meta. Anyway, here goes. Michael Matheson accused of an outrageous lie as he insists he hasn't misled anybody. Well, that's misleading people because he's misled people. He's lied many, many times and he's still lying. This man has got to go. He's a liar who lies about his lies and then when he's caught out lying about his lies, lies some more. What is wrong with the man? Tell the truth, Michael. Admit the fact you were watching P-Hub. Just say, I was watching P-Hub and got carried away, wanking myself stupid in Morocco. Because that's what we're all thinking. And we're all thinking it's the worst kind of P, simply because you won't hand over your iPad. The SNP Health Secretary snaps at newspaper reporters. Don't follow me around, he says, before telling STV that nobody has been misled. This is despite his demonstrably false claim last week about there being no personal use of his iPad. He doesn't like the press. Well, who'd have thought it, eh? Who'd have thought a man in deep, deep trouble, both at his job and in his personal life and on his expense claims, doesn't like the press asking questions? That's because he doesn't like the answers. It's nothing to do with the questions, is it? Michael Matheson has denied misleading Humza Yousaf and the Scottish public and the Parliament and the press and everybody about personal usage connected to an £11,000 iPad bill. Asked by reporters whether he had misled anybody during the scandal, the Health Secretary said no. That's an obvious lie. The SNP minister is fighting for his political life. It's too late. Nobody's going to listen to you, Michael. They don't believe a word you say anymore. This is after admitting that his sons ran up the colossal data roaming bill watching two Celtic matches during a family holiday in Morocco during the Christmas recess. A man who throws his children under the bus. What a wanker. He later charged the entire sum to the public purse after telling the Holyrood authorities it was entirely related to his constituency work. And at that point, fraud. So he's a thief. Mr. Matheson says he only learned the truth on the evening of Thursday, November the 8th. Bullshit. Because we have the receipts, we have the Twitter of him asking how to watch the Celtic match from back at the time when it was actually live. So we know complete and utter horseshit. Told you, other end of the horse. Anyway, the following day he announced that he would be repaying the sum in full, but it didn't explain the reasons why. The reason why is he saw it all blowing up in his face and he realised that if he didn't pay the bill himself, people might want to ask what was on the iPad. And of course, he couldn't afford that to happen. Didn't want anyone knowing what kind of stuff he was watching as he's laying there, possibly with his, underpants around his ankles in a Moroccan room while having some Michael time. On Monday, November the 15th, he told reporters at Holyrood there'd been no personal use of the iPad or its data. Clearly a lie. Before finally coming clean and blaming his own children for the potentially career-ending error in a tearful confession and apology 3 days later. Oh, I'm sorry, pulls out onion, tears. What a load of old toss. blaming his children, pulling out that story that nobody believes, refusing to hand over the iPad, changing... this is after he's changed the story twice, after he's lied to the press, after he's lied to Holyrood, after he's lied to his family, after he's lied to Hamza Yousaf, after he's lied to everybody, and then lied about his lies, changed his story. Even he doesn't know which lie he's presenting to us that we're supposed to believe this time. And then he lies about the fact that he lied. Michael, you've got to go, you lying liar. The Health Secretary took questions from broadcast journalists in Holyrood on Tuesday, but refused to speak to print journalists, snapping, "Don't follow me around." He then told STV that nobody had been misled during the affair. An incredulous Scottish Conservative leader, Douglas Ross, said, "This claim by Michael Matheson is another outrageous lie that totally undermines last week's apology. By the timeline he himself set out in his personal statement, it's clear he lied last Monday. He insisted the interviews then that there was no personal use of his iPad, despite his sons having admitted the previous Thursday that they'd watched football on it. The Health Secretary has attempted to cover up his actions at every stage of this scandal. The fibs are just becoming more absurd and more obvious. Also, nobody seems to be questioning why he was allowing his children access to government, computer equipment with perhaps confidential information on it. This is an outrageous breach of security, if nothing else. Michael Matheson is utterly discredited, and he must be sacked now by Hamza Yousaf, who is being made to look like a fool for standing by his friend. Well, he's always looked like a fool, let's be honest, but he's looking like someone who's got no authority over the party. He's looking like not a leader. A leader would have fired Matheson day one. He'd have said, look, get him in the office, and he'd have said, look, you can either resign and hold your dignity, or I fire you, but by the end of this meeting, you're no longer the Health Secretary. What would you like us to do? And leave it entirely there. But that, of course, is what a real leader would do. It's not what Hamza Yousaf does, because Kendall can't do that, can he? No balls. Meanwhile, the Scottish Parliament's corporate body, a cross-party group of MSPs which oversees the day-to-day running of Holyrood, has said there is no mechanism for Mr Matheson to refer himself for investigation. Well, that's an oversight in the Parliament, and there needs to be a way that any member can report any other member for oversight. Mr Ross added, this statement underlines urgently why we need a debate in Parliament to address the many unanswered questions in this scandal. The tactic was clearly a ruse by Michael Matheson to take the sting out of the scandal, but it hasn't worked. As with everything else in this sorry saga, he's got this hopelessly wrong. I hope the Scottish Parliament will still investigate why they agreed to pay £11,000. Asked by STV News whether he'd misled anybody at any point in the scandal, Matheson said, "No. You can't believe a word this lying liar says. Thieves will never tell the truth, will they, Michael?" He continued, "I have sought to be very clear that my use of parliamentary device was only for parliamentary purposes when I was using it. Bullshit, and you knew it. But I wasn't aware, obviously, data was being used by other family members. Why are other family members using government equipment? As soon as I became aware of that, I took action to order address that question. Then hand over your iPad to be inspected, since it is only football, as you insist." He says, "There are those who question why I did not disclose that information earlier last week, and the reason I didn't do it was because I was genuinely trying to protect my children. The same children you threw under the bus and blamed for your own inadequacies, you sad tosser." What a sad, sad loser he truly is. Look at him, sitting there smug, thinking he's safe. Michael, you are not safe. You are done. Nobody believes a word now. Nobody can believe anything that comes out of your mouth, because you're a lying liar who lies and then lies and then lies and then lies and then lies. Nothing you say is believable. Nothing you say can ever be taken at face value. Why are you still there? And that's before we even ask about your inability to do your job with the worst waiting list, and why you're obviously a deep security risk that needs to be investigated by Special Branch or MI5. Time to go. Coming up. One of the biggest problems of Holyrood is that there are no mechanisms in place to hold these MSPs to account. The liars, the thieves, the inept, the stupid, All of them get away with everything because in order to be reported, they have to report themselves. There should be a place where any MSP can be reported by any other MSP for malfeasance or ineptitude or corruption or whatever. And that there is an independent body set out that investigates. And if found guilty and they're a minister, they must resign immediately as minister. If they're an MSP, if it's sufficiently bad, they must face a re-election. And that includes whether they're a minister or not. They immediately give up being a minister, but then if it's sufficiently bad, they have to face a re-election. And let the people decide whether they want to be represented by inept, stupid, ignorant, lying thieves like Michael Matheson. I'll stop there. Oh, by the way, did you notice I didn't say an allegedly? Sue me, Michael, because you can't. You're a liar and you're a thief. You're also inept. We can tell that by the fact that the waiting lists are so long. You're also ignorant because you think that we're going to believe you, and you're very stupid because you keep lying and think that you're going to get away with it. Dearie me. No, allegedly. To the rest of you, thank you very much for watching. Do please continue. Do please hit the subscribe button. More of this later. I'm sure this is still going to go on. Nobody is letting this bone drop. Bye.